In today's video, we'll have a look at the GSR164 Mini PLC from GMT Control. This is a small standalone PLC. The unit we have here has got 6 digital inputs and 4 isolated relay outputs. The digital inputs can also be configured as 0 to 10 volt analog, and by connecting a resistor you can use them with milliamp signals. There are other models in the range that give different I/O configurations. The unit can be mounted on either DIN rail or panel mount and has a fairly unique feature of having a 1.8-inch TFT display. So we can display process variables, we can display count values, we can change set points, etc. We also have function keys which can be allocated in logic, and navigation keys and the escape and enter key. So in our demo system, we have F1 allocated as the start button and F4 allocated as the stop button. We can also have multiple displays with various aspects such as changing set points, displaying different alarms, having other process displays, etc. All configurable via the programming software. So let's have a look at the actual display screen, and then we'll have a look at the programming software. So here we'll use the function keys to start the pump, and you'll see the process variable changing in terms of level, and the pump will stop, the valve will open, and we'll cycle through that process. And we'll also change some set points using the navigation keys. And the display does look much better in real life rather than on camera. So now we'll have a look at the programming software for the GSR PLC. This is GMT Suite, and let's have a look through it. So first up, let's just check settings. You've got choice of language, so we select English, and then we can start a new project, open a project. We'll just open a previous project, which is that one there, and we'll run through this. So the first thing we probably want to do is connect to the device. So if I go devices, it's a USB connection, and the software automatically detects the port number. So all I need to do is say connect, and we're now connected. So with the actual programming, primarily ladder logic. There is some C programming options, but most people would probably use ladder in this small application. And the first thing we'll do is configure the hardware. So if I jump to configuration, I have my GSR164. I can select that from the list. So I'll just select it there, 164R. Version, we can look at digital inputs, we can give filter numbers, so we can add a filter to the input response. On the outputs, we can determine whether they are off or on by default. So we've got one configured as being on. And then we have our analog channels. So I mentioned earlier that the digital inputs can also be configured as analogs. So we've actually configured analog channel 5, and we've given it a fairly hefty filter there. So let's just put that down a bit. And the raw value is 04095, so it's a 12-bit ATD converter. We can set the real-time clock, and we can configure the names on keys, etc. So within our logic, we can call it start button, stop button, whatever we want, rather than function key F1. Okay, so hardware configuration is fairly straightforward. Small PLC, not too many options. So now we can look at the actual logic. So we've just added some fairly standard ladder logic. If we look at the instruction set, so under logic you've got normal contacts, edge triggers, set reset coils, etc, etc. Under math, normal math functions, and if we just run through these quickly, fairly all-encompassing, fairly standard things. There's that in range, which analogues, we can set limits, create ramps, etc. Timers, normal timer things, counters, bit functions, so you can actually move bits, etc. Call subroutines. Real-time clock, one of the neat things is that we've actually got an Astro time clock, so we can set things to function on sunrise and sunset, and we'll actually look at that a little bit later. We can do step control stuff, conversions of data formats, full array functions, so you can have an array, pick the average, the minimum, the maximum, whatever you need from it, and just our CPU info is available. So looking at the actual programming, we can select different functions here. So if we go CPU, we can have the main program, which is the default area. We can have a power on, which is this one here. So we can define which block is scanned on power on. So here we're just setting our Astro Clock, which is a one-off function on power up. We can also select sub-programs, and here we can have ladder programs or C programs, and our sub-programs are here. So we've got analog scaling and no scan as ladder programs. And we can also do HMI stuff, so we can have screens. So we've got the main screen, which we've defined here, and then we can define other screens as we have here. So to add a screen, for instance, we just select the GSR screen, we can click add, and it adds it here, and we can configure it. So just looking at the actual logic, so what we've got here is fairly standard ladder stuff. I won't go through all this, but essentially we're just controlling a pump with some counters. But if we go online, we can actually see some real values in the actual program. And just flicking through this, this is where we're using our Astro timer. So the PLC calculates the sunrise time, hours and minutes, and the sunset time, hours and minutes, and that's based on the information which is in the power up block. So here we put the latitude and the longitude, our elevation, and our offset from UTC. So let's have a look at our screen configuration. So if I just jump to our main screen that we've previously configured, we'll zoom in a bit, and here we have numeric data entries. So if I click on our fill, we can see the operand is defined as fill liters, the minimum and maximum range, and the amount of step change when we press the button to increment or decrement the value. And we can also have the same thing for numeric displays, so operand, etc. And here we can also select adding devices or objects, etc. So I jump to over here, and I can select like a numeric input as we had, and I can add my operands and my ranges, etc. And if we decide to put in some images, we can do images, and I can give a path for the actual image, and these are all part of the program. So loads of different symbols that you can choose from. So quite intuitive and simple to add screen objects, and yeah, you can have multiple screens. So here we've created an alarm message that we'll drive up on an overload trip. So we can also look at watches, etc. So you can have a watch window, so we can add an operand, whatever we decide to choose, and that will give us a value. And we can also find things. So if I'm searching for something we have in the program, so it tells me it's in Sunrise, and there it is in the program. So there you have a brief summary of the GSR164, a small, cost-effective PLC, but quite powerful in many ways. So good for standalone relay timer replacement applications. And as you can see, you can add analog inputs and use level, pressure, flow, transmitters, etc. So thank you.